Don't you just hate it? The greens were perfect and now they're aerified and the greens are covered with holes and sand. Why do they do this to us? Well, aerification is actually one of the most important practices done by superintendents to help provide quality putting surfaces. Aerification comes in many styles, but the one most of you recognize is core aerification, done with hollow tines where pieces of soil are pulled from the ground. Basically, the aerification process helps break up the soil, which provides many benefits to the green. It helps get air to the roots, allows water to penetrate, and it also helps remove thatch. What's thatch? It's a layer of organic matter that can trap water and nutrients and can oftentimes result in spongy surfaces. There's a lot that goes into the process. For more about aerification, world-renowned agronomist and professor of turfgrass science at Ohio State, Dr. Carl Danneberger, joins Jimmy in the Golf Zone for the Superintendent Report.
Welcome back to the Golf Zone, presented to you by Varmint Guard and American Eagle Mortgage. And speak of the devil, he's right here. Dr. Carl Danneberger's here from The Ohio State University. Yes. And Doc is, he's the guru when it comes to turfgrass. And there's a lot of things. I could keep him in here for every show because I have questions myself. I just love to talk about this, Doc. And it's fascinating to me just the different things that you teach and that they do on golf courses to keep them at the highest level or just to maintain them, period. But as they just saw the video there that we watched, one of the things that I think is a myth, I think, to golfers. They just don't understand it. They don't know why we do it. They don't know. I say we. I don't do it. I just watch them do it. They don't understand how you can have a green. And you know, it always happens, by the way. The greens are perfect before you aerify.
Always.
They're always like perfect. At their highest point, and I get that call and go, hey, you know we're aerifying on Monday, don't you? I go, what are you talking about? They're perfect right now. But, you know, it's something that is a necessity. We just watched a little bit on the video there. Talk to me a little bit about it, though. Why do we have to do it, and why is it so important to keep it good all year round?
Yeah, I guess a great analogy, I like analogy,
okay.
is if anybody's ever had or owned a classic car or bought a classic car, and you go to buy it, and, you know, nice paint job. Yeah. It looks great and everything, and you spend a lot of money. And then you take it into the shop to have a few things, and you find underneath it that the frame's rusted, the transmission's falling out, and all this, and now you have to spend a lot of money. And turf is kind of like that, but a living thing. It looks perfect on top, but what's really important is what's going underneath. What's going on with those roots? That's what is the foundation for that nice surface. So the practice that you saw, which was kind of nice, usually most golfers are screaming at that action, is really enhancing the underneath or the undercarriage of that turfgrass plant. And it's extremely, extremely critical to provide air because they need oxygen to take up.
It's almost like people, right? I mean, grass is kind of like people. There's a lot of things it needs to live, right?
That's exactly it. So, and one of the key things is, and a lot of the aerification is to get the, open up the soil so the plant can take up water and nutrients. Well, you need oxygen to do that. Right. And if it's, I know during the summer, and we saw this a couple years ago in Cleveland, you know, it gets hot and wet. Yeah. There's nothing good that can happen there.
Right.
So yeah.
So what causes, besides, you know, weather and stuff, you know, you figure a normal golf course in Ohio does 20,000 18-hole rounds at least, so 20,000 people are walking on this green. Is compaction part of the reason you got it too? Because you just got people constantly walking, and on top of that, you got mowers driving on it every single day. And it's not just the golfers. There's equipment driving across this area too.
Yeah, it can be actually rain pounding down on the thing. And what happens is you push all those particles, even on sandy greens, you push those particles in, and something has to give, and actually it's the air pores. And you just end up with more solid pores packed in there with a lot of water, and you need to relieve that. And so as that, although that aerifying picture kind of looked like something from the Transformers or something, but we open that up. And actually, you think about it, when they aerify those greens and you think, oh, look at all these holes, and all that, actually, they're only hitting 10% of the surface.
Oh, is that right?
So it takes about 5 to 10 years for you to completely turn a green.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know that. So they don't always pull the dirt out when they aerify, though, too. Is that not correct? I mean, I know on my golf course sometimes, I think our superintendent calls it solid tining, and sometimes they're not pulling out dirt. They just are punching holes into it. And what's the difference between that and pulling out cores, or why would they do that?
Okay, that's a good question. Usually the most active coring processes with the big holes is spring and fall, ideally. And what you're trying to do there is they'll oftentimes remove those cores, and then they'll come in with sand and fill those. And there's a whole other story about that and how much sand you need to get down on a green. But anyway, they'll do that, pull those cores off, and then actually that process only lasts about 7 weeks to that turf. And so what'll happen as you come into summer, they'll do those, how should I say, solid small cores, pencil type punching. Again, just to provide a little bit of air. About every 3 weeks, I think he's probably doing it. And then goes through the summer, and then you get into fall. And actually, fall is the time they'll core, too, is setting up for the next year. Actually, fall is the most important time.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Perfect world. I mean, we're not talking golf because we know we don't get a lot of months in golf here. But let's just say we were maintaining a perfect golf course and we didn't care how much somebody could play on it throughout a year in Ohio. And we know we only really get March to, and March is a stretch here, by the way, March to November. How many times in a perfect world would you aerify greens? Like you said, is it every 2 months? You said 7 weeks is when it's...
Generally, I think when most people think about coring and those holes and when they go out and scream and do all that, aren't happy. And by the way, it's pretty labor intensive. So superintendents don't like to do it either, but it's kind of like something they have to do. Perfect world for us here, twice a year.
Twice a year, okay. And that's and so I guess let's tell everybody out there. Let's just to say that we had an owner that that knows everything. We've got a couple NFL owners that know everything in the world. Jerry Jones comes in and he buys a golf course and he says, "Listen, I don't want to punch greens. I don't want this happening in my green." What eventually happens? So if you just say, I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna aerify my greens. What's going to happen to those greens, even if they were perfect before he started doing that? Besides dying.
They die.
Yeah, right, eventually, right?
Eventually, because you think about it, if going back to that classic car.
Yeah, right.
You could be going down the road and eventually you drop the transmission.
Yeah, it's slower
and the thing, too, is for just, let's say, one bad day, usually probably to recover from an intensive coring, you're looking at about 2 weeks. In spring and fall to do that. I'd rather live with that and have a nice surface through the summer than to come out August 1 and have no grass and then nobody comes and plays.
Yeah, and you do it a little bit, it's just not on the greens. I mean, you airify your tees, you airify your fairways, and some of even the higher end places that can afford to make it happen, airify the roughs too, right? Just like we probably should be airifying our yards every once in a while, right?
Yeah, we should be doing that. I should be doing that.
I figured
that. So, because you get that thatch and organic matter, and there's nothing good that happens with that.
Yeah, so it's all the same. It's maybe not as much because you don't have the time and the staff to do something like that, but I know that happens. Well, it's crazy because it's something that I don't think that most golfers understand it. But I do think that, hopefully now listening to you a little bit, when they're driving their classic car and they hear that rust underneath, they'll understand why you're punching holes in that.
Yeah, they're not too happy fixing all that.
Yeah, that's right.
I know personal experience.
Well, tell me a little bit about the program at Ohio State. We talked a little bit off the air about golf course superintendents across the country. And, it's a tough job. It's a difficult job. And you're answering to some high-level people. And you have to be good. You have to be, there's a high level in the golf world of expectation for superintendents. And you're bringing them into the world every year through the Ohio State University. And tell me a little bit about the program.
Yeah, sure. That's a good point. Is that when I worked on a golf course way back in the day, we used to get time off in August because our grass would all die. But now one of the things is everybody wants perfection, and I've realized the closer you get to perfection, more your imperfections show.
Yeah.
And so these guys are in a lot of stress. I think a key is in this business, as you know, you got to love this.
Yeah.
You got to really love it, whether you're a general manager or a pro or a superintendent. That's the first thing. You got to really enjoy doing the work. Because like today, I mean, everybody else is out having a good time.
Yeah.
What are pros and general managers and superintendents? They're working.
They're working, yeah. Absolutely.
And so we've been very successful. Ohio State has a strong turf program. And fortunately, the states surrounding us have very good ones, Pennsylvania and Michigan State and Purdue.
Yep.
And Ohio State, one of the things we're very good at is we have a strong international program.
Oh, cool.
So we have a lot of students who come from overseas to work on golf courses here, and we've sent students the other way too. So we have one actually is at Arsenal, and another one's at Beltray in Ireland, and a few other things. So we have kind of a global influence.
That's pretty cool.
People wonder why I travel. A lot of it has to do with those students out there.
Yeah.
So we're strong. We're strong there. Like a lot of programs, there's a lot of superintendents from Ohio State themselves.
But Carl Dannenberger, thank you so much for taking the time. I truly appreciate it. See, the Buckeyes, they're not just good at playing football. They're good at growing grass at Ohio State, too. And this guy leads them right here. And that's your Superintendent's Report presented to you by the Golf Course Superintendents Association of Ohio. And thank you so much to them for bringing this knowledge to us. And you're going to see that every week. All right.